Hi, and welcome to Genealogy Gems podcast episode number 73. Thank you so much for joining me today. And some of you will be joining me on audio and some of you on video. Yes, we are going to try kind of a simulcast, I guess, if you will, or a videocast of the Genealogy Gems podcast. And actually, I'll be going over some of the news with you on this video portion, where we're talking about some of the things that are going on in the world of genealogy that hopefully will help you out in your research. There has been a lot of news in the last couple of weeks, and over at the Library of Congress, they've actually added 192,000 pages from historic newspapers to the Chronicling America website, one of my favorite websites. According to their recent press release, the site now provides free and open access to 1,442,000 pages from 171 titles that were published between 1880 and 1922. That's nice. They're way a little further back in time in over 15 states and including the District of Columbia. Now, this most recent update expands the coverage for many of the newspaper titles that they already have on their website, and they include 4 new states that haven't been represented so far, and those are Arizona, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Washington. So you can find all of those new newspaper pages as well as some of the pages from those other states at chroniclingamerica.gov. Actually, I take that back. It's chroniclingamerica.loc.gov. And there are a couple of new things going on over at Ancestry. I've gotten a couple of press releases from them lately, and it seems like they have been very busy. Saw them recently at the Family History Expo in Salt Lake City. First of all, Ancestry.com has announced an expansion to their relationship with the National Archives and Records Administration that enables the company to digitize NARA record collections at a new Ancestry.com facility in Washington, D.C. The press release of this announcement can be read online, and I will have a link for that for the show notes for you. That is coupled with the announcement that online, they are going to launch the first 2 collections scanned at the new facility. Now, these are coming from Honolulu, Hawaii. There are passenger lists from 1900 to 1953 and death reports of American citizens abroad, 1910 to 1974. The second announcement is that Ancestry.com has added social media functionality to the website. That's Twitter, Facebook, you know what we're talking about, and they are getting on board. Members can now share their historical records that they find on Ancestry via Facebook, Twitter, and email. And your family and friends can just click through to view the record on Ancestry.com when you send it to them. You'll also be able to share records via Twitter and email as well. And once shared, the family and friends can click through, check it out without having to register. So that's really nice. They're getting a chance to look at those records without having to actually be a member. And this should be a really easy way to share some of those new discoveries that you're finding with people that are in your family as well as fellow researchers, kind of a collaboration tool. They have implemented this capability in a limited way on their site to kind of gauge the interest. And right now, you can only share historical records and only from the records page itself. Now, I'm recording this in October of 2009, so perhaps by the time you listen to this podcast, it may be taken further from that, but that's the case right now. And if they find that the response is really positive, then they will likely extend this same capability to more places on the website and to more types of media. Think about photographs, stories, those kinds of things could be really fun to share. So right now, you can try this out by going to a record page on Ancestry.com and clicking on Share This Record. And then you will see a drop-down menu. And from there, you can customize the text of the post or the email that you want to send. So just give it a try and see what you think. I'd love to hear from you and see how it works for you. Again, you can always send me an email at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. Or you could leave a recorded message and kind of give us your feedback on this at 925-272-4021. Now, being a Facebook user myself, I can imagine that there'd be tons of records flying around and kind of clogging up the news feed, if you will. And that could get a little bit annoying, but hopefully people will be selective in the way in which they use this ability to share records with Facebook. It's definitely a terrific advertising mechanism for Ancestry, isn't it? I mean, every time we share a record, they're going to get a free ad on Facebook. I mean, pretty smart business sense. But actually, it could be pretty much a win-win situation, especially because of the number of people who are connecting with their relatives on Facebook. And I know in my case, my cousin Carolyn, she's on Facebook and we collaborate all the time. I'm out in California, she's in Texas, and to be able to share records like that real quickly and easily would be really terrific. So, we'll see how it works. Hopefully it won't bog down Facebook or Twitter, but actually add a lot of value. Well, they've also been working diligently to improve Member Connect. As David Graham. Now, you'll remember that David Graham was here on the show. He's the Director of Product Management at Ancestry.com, and he was on the Genealogy Gems podcast, and you can also watch the two-part video series that I produced with that interview on the Genealogy Gems TV channel on YouTube. And you just go to youtube.com/user/genealogygems. And you can watch the two-part series that we did where he's actually showing us on the screen how to interact and use Member Connect. And it's a great way to go if you want to get introduced to it. Well, they have been working diligently on these improvements, and a number of them were things that David had mentioned to us in that interview. And a lot of it was based on member feedback, and that includes your feedback because you emailed me and voicemailed me and let me know what you were looking for, and I passed those on to David as well. I know that they are trying to be more responsive to users' interests and feedback and comments on their products, so it's nice to see that maybe some of those things are being implemented. Now, here's a few of the highlights they sent me. I want to cover some of these with you. You can have links between your tree and trees that you've connected to. So if you've connected to someone in another person's tree, either through Ancestry Hints or through Member Connect, then they can include a link for you in their tree that goes back to the person in your tree that you've connected to. And explanations for specific activity items. It says here, you can now easily find out why we have notified you about a specific item on your recent Member Connect activity list. If you put your mouse over the item, you'll get kind of a question mark icon, and clicking that will explain why the item is on your list, and it will also usually link you to a related record or person in your tree. And they also have something called the ignored indicator. Let me read to you what they told me about it. It says, when you connect with someone in another person's or another member's tree, we highlight which facts in their tree aren't in your tree, and those will be labeled new, and which ones are different than what is in your tree, labeled conflicting. It says you can ignore any of these facts that you are not interested in looking into further. Previously, we simply removed the new or conflicting label when you ignore a fact, but now include a specialized ignored indicator to help clarify that you have looked at this information already and have ignored it. And I think that was definitely something that people were asking for. And in the future, we can look forward to some additional improvements as well, which will be good. They are currently working on things like the ability to filter down to the activity that you're most interested in. I know this was something that people were asking for as well. For some members, there may be a long list of items each day in the recent Member Connect activity list, and they're working on expanding the filters that they offer. It says, we'll also remember your settings so that the items that you filter out stay off of your Member Connect activity list until you choose to include them again. They also have coming up making it easier to see the details for activity notifications. On the recent Member Connect activity list, we sometimes roll up multiple actions into one activity item. For example, they say, if a member you have connected with has uploaded 4 new photographs about a common ancestor that you share, we'd include one item about that rather than one for each photo. That we're working on a way for members to be able to expand an item like this to learn more about each individual photo before clicking through on the item. So that could be coming in pretty handy. And finally, it looks like that they are working on adding new people to your tree. This is right now, if you find that another member has discovered a relative of one of your ancestors that you weren't aware of before, the option of adding that person to your tree is not as clean and simple as we would like, or as I'm sure some of the users have told them about. It says that they are working on simplifying this flow while maintaining the ability to evaluate the other member's research. So sounds like that they are definitely trying to make some improvements. They're listening to feedback and hopefully are making some headway on some of these improvements. Again, if you want to get more familiar with Member Connect, check out the YouTube channel for Genealogy Gems and watch his tour, because David really takes us on a personal tour of Member Connect and gives us a chance to kind of see it up and running. And then just play with it yourself and see what you think. Well, that's the news for now. And coming up next, we'll be going to the mailbox.